Do you have anything happening in your body today that I need to know about?
No. No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing is if I move this too deeply, I don't know if it's hamstring that catches. It's always happened, but you should be fine.
Okay, cool, perfect. All right. So first we're gonna start with adductors. I like to move my body on the inside of my client's leg. You can decide if this does not feel comfortable for you. If you think it's safer for you to stay on the outside, then you can stay on the outside. However, when we get to the resistance, it's going to be easier on you, body mechanics wise, to be on the inside, because the resistance is going to come from your core, from your body, versus coming from only your arms, right? And this is where the how much your client resists comes into play. Because if you don't say that specifically, and I say, go ahead and pull your leg against my hands, and she does that with 100% of her effort, and I'm not ready for it, her leg's gonna go flying, right? But if I'm here and I forget to specify that, and she uses 100% of her effort, I've got a whole lot more weight behind her leg than I do in the other position, okay? But ultimately, you guys have to decide what feels safe for you as the therapist, because it is your license, your career on the line. So if you even for a second have a, maybe I shouldn't, then maybe you shouldn't, and go the safer route, okay? To start, we're gonna stretch adductors long, which means I need her whole leg versus half. Because I can stretch adductors here, but if I want to get all of them, and why not if we're doing it, then I need her leg fully extended, okay? And Hannah, I just want you to tell me when you start to feel a stretch.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're gonna hang out here for how long?
15, 30.
20 to 30 seconds. Okay. I can come out of that a little bit. I'm gonna shake. How are we here? I'm keeping my hand underneath her knee to keep it supported, and I have my other hand cradling her ankle. We're gonna come out of that. I'm keeping her leg parallel to the table, so I am not lifting it up at all while I do this. Now I want you to push your leg against my body. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, and relax. I'm gonna pull her out as she relaxes and then go into the stretch, okay?
What was that called when you have her push against you?
That's the resistance.
That's resistance.
This is CRS,
CRS.
okay? The other side, I'm gonna show you adductor short. Go ahead and let your leg drop. Do you feel a stretch here?
Not too much.
Okay. I'm gonna anchor her waist, and I'm going to push ever so slightly down on her knee. The reason we're anchoring at the waist is because if I start pushing down on her knee and her hip starts to roll towards me, we're not gonna get a good stretch, and I'm gonna contort her body into a weird angle that it doesn't need to be in. Okay, so we're gonna anchor. I'm gonna drop. You don't feel a stretch here. Let me know when you feel a stretch. Okay. We'll hang out here for 20 to 30 seconds. even in a passive stretch, before you go in to the next stretch, you have to come out of it. Let the leg relax, let the muscles relax. And then we can go into the next one. That okay there?
Mm-hmm.
And this time, I'm gonna have you push your leg against my hand. Keep pushing, keep pushing. We're having them push against resistance for 6 seconds and relax.
So this is to stretch and turn off the muscles, as opposed to if you did it for 6 seconds, you're trying to then turn the muscles on.
Yes.
Okay. Why would you want to turn the muscles on as opposed to off?
If they weren't, if you have, so
A cramp or something?
sure.
Okay.
Yes, a cramp, absolutely. You would want the muscles to turn off, or to turn on.
Antagonist muscle. Okay.
But also, let's say Hannah comes to me and she is complaining about lower back pain. Okay, and I've massaged her, I've felt all the things, and her quads are significantly tighter than her hamstrings. My first assumption is going to be that her quads are working way too hard and her hamstrings are not working hard enough. And that is what's causing the dysfunction in her lower back. So I would want to turn quads off and turn hamstrings on. In which case, this is where, so for those of you that were in class with me on Saturday, we talked about not getting on the table when your client's in supine, except for very specific circumstances. This is one of them, hamstring stretch. For me, because this table is a little high for what I work at, but it's not that much higher, and regardless, even if it was 1 notch lower for me to stretch hamstrings on Hannah, sure, I can do it from the floor, but that requires me to hold my arms above my head for however long with the weight of her leg in it. I like to work smarter, not harder, right? So if I determine that hamstrings need to be stretched and need to be turned on, I'm gonna come here. So when she resists, she's pushing against my whole body versus only my arms that are above my head from the floor. Does that make sense? So here, yeah. You feel a stretch here?
Yep.
Starting to here? Okay. I'm gonna have you push against my body using your whole leg, not just the foot. It's harder, huh? And relax. I'm gonna pull her out of it a little bit. Do you feel stretch here? And push against. See how much less stable it is when I'm using my arms versus against my body. Okay, and relax. I'm gonna pull her out. Do you feel stretch?
Right there. Yeah. No, sorry.
Oh my God, girl. All right. So,
You asked for flexibility.
yes, and to demonstrate a point, because me here looks weird, right?
Yeah.
Super weird. But I can turn this stretch active. So Hannah, I want you to dorsiflex your feet, so I want you to pull your toes towards me and tell me when you feel a stretch.
Like right there.
Okay? And push against my hands. And relax. And go ahead and take a deep breath in for me. And exhale and pull your toes toward you.
Awesome.
Okay? When we do an active stretch versus a passive stretch, it is a lot more intense for the client, and we don't have to work as hard because their muscles, their body is doing the work for us.
Is there a way to do what you were just doing not on the table?
Yes. From here.
Okay.
But know that your arms have to support your client's legs. This is going to get increasingly harder the more mass your client's legs have and the longer you're holding it here, right? So for resistance, go ahead and push against me. I can hold it, but I'm activating everything in me.
And she's a small client, given, yeah.
And relax.
Your body mechanics have to be super sturdy.
It doesn't feel as stable also.
Mhm.
You're just holding it.
It feels more stable on the table when she's on the table.
Mm-hmm. You can go ahead and scoot towards me. The workaround, and I'm gonna have you hold on to that edge, is here,
Okay, better.
but you're gonna have your client move a little bit to keep your body mechanics good. Because you don't want your client in the middle of the table and then you're trying to lean into the middle of the table with them so that you're even in the stretch. Just have them move over. Make sure they're not going to fall off the edge. I will instruct my clients to hold on to the opposite side, especially if we've never done something like this before, where I'm now having them stray from the center of the table. That's for their safety, right? For their peace of mind. I'm not going to let my client fall, and I know that, but she needs to know that, right? So if you get your client here and you're like, oh man, they're not relaxing the way that they were, see if you can help with that subconsciously, because maybe they just put all their tension there instead of here, right? And then when we come into it, don't be afraid to shake them, to rock them. All of my clients know that when I'm doing this anywhere on the body, it's because you're holding and I don't want you to hold. I want you to let it go. Be my rag doll, right? But you have to table train your clients to understand that. So after several sessions, many years, I don't have to say anything to them anymore. I can just shake them, right? But they don't all start that way. Okay. Okay, scoot back towards the middle for me. I lied. That was the perfect. Psoas, we have two options. If your client is here, if you've just done a hamstring stretch and you have them on the edge of the table, boom, you're in the perfect spot to do a psoas stretch. We're gonna pull our client's leg off the side of the table. Their thigh needs to clear the edge of the table. If more than half of their thigh is still sitting on the table, then their leg is not off of it enough. It should feel like for them, if they're in the right place, almost that whole glute is gonna be hanging off the side of the table.
That's the key, like crazy, because when we were doing this the other day, I was getting almost no stretch unless you say the whole glute, unless my butt crack was like here. So my actual whole cheek was off and it was like night and day.
Yeah, and it's important that the therapist is standing in the right place, right? So I need to be here before I start pulling my client off of the table. I'm at her waist, but I'm standing above her hips. So I am standing above PSIS, okay? Because I need to allow for her glute to be able to come off. And if I'm standing right next to her glute, then it's not going anywhere except into me. Okay, so we are, like, if you feel the soft space between your iliac crest and your 12th rib, that's where you should be making contact with your client. Soft space into soft space. That's gonna tell you that you are high enough up that you're not gonna be inhibiting their leg from coming off the table as much as it needs to get this stretch, okay? Do you feel a stretch here? A little bit? Cool. So there's your 90-second stretch. And I didn't have to do anything. And sometimes it's like that, right? Sometimes you'll drop a client's leg off the table and it goes to here. And you're like, seems like a stretch for you. And they're like, oh yeah. Cool. I'm gonna let gravity hold that stretch for however long. And then we'll see if we're gonna be able to move past that or not. In theory, yes, but sometimes no. If this is a stretch and it's an okay stretch for your client, then leave it here. We don't have to force it down further, right? But we can still do the CRS here, the contract, relax, stretch. Okay, so if I'm targeting psoas, what do we know about psoas as a muscle? What does it do? It's a hip flexor, yes. So I'm gonna put some resistance, and Hannah, I'm gonna have you push your leg up against my hand. Perfect, and keep pushing, keep pushing, and go ahead and relax. We feel stretch here? Okay. I always make the joke with my clients that this is my magic trick, because most of the time I can make their feet touch the floor by the time we're done with this stretch. It's not gonna happen on Hannah. I don't have that far to go. I mean, we could. But I do want you. That okay? Go ahead and push up against my hand. Keep pushing, and relax. Okay. If you have a client, Brad, with really long legs, and you work at a table height that's